It's that time again. Time for some real talk about real issues to enhance your real life. Whatever you think, whatever you know, whatever you feel, Tanya doesn't mind talking about it. Get ready for some real talk that is always rated R, because Talk with Tanya has got to be relevant. Talk with Tanya has got to be refreshing. But most importantly, Talk with Tanya has got to be real. Tune in right now for Real Talk with Tanya White.
Hello, and welcome once again to the Real Talk with Tanya White show. I cannot believe it is March. We're in the third month of 2025, and now we're going to march on to greatness, march on to just evolving into the person that we want to, and then we're going to march into success financially, physically, romantically, whatever, all this month. And I know it's Women's Month. This is my favorite month, but we're going to have women and men on, empowering people to just march forth. That is the theme for March forth. All right. And so before I bring on my gorgeous, my phenomenal, my superstar guest today, okay, let me first of all thank our March sponsors of the Real Talk with Tanya White show. It is LaTanya Renee Banks. Yes, we share this first and middle name of Derby City Medical Partners. Thank you for being a monthly sponsor for this March. And if you need medical care, go to Derby City Medical Partners. We will have it posted in her contact information at the end of the show. But now we're going to kick off this episode. I said we have a superstar, an amazing, phenomenal woman. All right. We went to high school together, and back in 88, I'm not ashamed to say 84 to 88, Mercy Academy is when it was Mercy Missiles. Okay, then they changed it to the Jaguars, being politically correct. But we came under Mercy Missiles. Tiffany, when I first met her, was a superstar, and she hasn't stopped being authentically who she is. Yes, you may recognize the last name Cooper. Yes, she is Nicole Cooper's oldest sister, the eldest, because I too am the eldest sister, so we have to take that right. But yes, they are sisters. And so they share the same DNA, the same just phenomenal insight. So welcome again. This is Tiff's, second, third? I don't know. Time on the show.
I think it's like maybe my second. It could be third, because I remember, you've been doing it. You have been, let me just give a shout out to you. You have been a superstar and living an authentic life. Literally, we're taking cues from you.
Oh, well, thank you, Tiffany Cooper.
Seriously.
Listen, Tiff, first of all, it feels like we just got out of high school 10 years ago, okay? Mm-hmm. I cannot believe 88 has come and gone.
I know. When you go back to reunions, I'm like...
Yeah, it's like, where did the time go? So, Tiffany, let's tell us who you are. Let's refresh our audience, who you are, and then how you became the Tiffany Cooper that you are today.
Well, it's so funny. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I've always known that I wanted to be, at the age of 7, I always knew that I wanted to be a performer, an actress, singer, dancer, something in the entertainment, just because that's just where my passion lies. So I am a Broadway and film professional actress, singer, and dancer. I'm also an executive public speaking coach, where I help people tell their own stories. And I'm also a certified life coach and arts educator. And podcaster. So I try to as an artist, I feel like you have to do many things. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket. I'm a multi-hyphenate person, I like to say, because I'm always growing. I believe in the growth mindset. Yes. But I started out, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, went to school with you, Tanya, and then graduated, went to Murray State University in theater, speech and communications, dance minor. And then right after that, I just moved straight to New York City. And it has been wonderful. I mean, the rest is history. I stayed there for about 23 years, worked in Europe for a long time, and then went to Austria to do an opera and met my future husband. He was an opera singer. He's no longer singing. He's in art management. But we met in Austria. Then I moved to Alaska for about 9 years and performed there and built my coaching business. That's where I really built my coaching business. And then we moved to Ashland, Oregon, which was beautiful. And now I am in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I absolutely love it. So I think leaving New York has really opened the door for me. Moving to Alaska really opened the door for me to consider how my life could look differently.
Mm.
You know, sometimes when you're doing the same thing over and over, you can't see your life being other than what is in front of you. And so it really opened the door for possibilities. I think if I stayed in New York and didn't leave, I don't know if I would have all the opportunities I have today. So I think
Wow.
following your path is very important.
You said a mouthful in less than 2 minutes, but I want to start where you said leaving. You
Mm-hmm.
grew up in Louisville. You
Mm-hmm.
always knew that arts, was your purpose, your destiny, acting, singing. She did it all, y'all, in high school. Like when I say we knew Tiffany was a superstar in high school
No,
at 14, and we're going to talk about being the minority in that field as well, and not being the minority, but not internalizing
mm-hmm.
that you were. We're going to talk about that. But how did you find the courage to leave? Because I know a lot of people who are in Louisville, they dream of moving to New York and getting the experience, but they never do. How did you find, Ed, what were you, 2022, leaving
Yeah.
and then staying in New York for so long, leaving Kentucky and moving because you knew that was your next move?
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. I think the thing is you have to have an ounce, at least an ounce of ambition, because you could have all the gift and talent in the world, but if you don't have the ambition and curiosity to know what's on the other side, then you stay put.
Mm.
And curiosity was bigger than my fear.
Mm.
So that's what brought me outside. I was more curious than, yeah, I'm scared to move, but I'm more curious for what not to do. I'm more scared about if I stay. What will happen to me if I don't at least see what's out there? I can always come back home. This is my home. I can always come back to safety. But it was always about, I knew that to get to New York, that I had to have some kind of strategy.
Yes.
And I didn't have a lot of friends. I knew like maybe one other person who lived in New York. And I said, I got to get to New York. So what I started to do my last year in college, I started taking entertainment jobs. I worked at a theme park called Hershey Park, which is close to New York. And I said, people were like, why are you going to work there? Why don't you work somewhere else, like a bigger theater? And I said, no, I have a strategy. I want to work there because I know there are going to be probably entertainers that I will meet that are originally from New York that I'll make connections, because this business is all about connections and relationship. And so when I moved there, that's exactly what happened. I made connections with the choreographer, with other friends. I found my roommate, and it made it easier. I knew I was going to move there. I just didn't know what season I was going to move there. And after making those connections, it was easy to move because I had already met people from Hershey Park. And once I got there, I was able to, do stuff. One of the things I did ask for my graduation present that really made it easier to financially was my parents asked me, what do you want for your graduation present from graduate from Murray? And I said, I want you to help me my first year financially as my gift, because I know it's going to be hard. I may not find a job right away. I got to pay my bills. It's just expensive. And that really set me up. It's amazing what you can do when you are financially secure, the risk that you take. And I knew that I could, for 1 year, if I could just, they would help me with rent, and they would help me with this and that. And yes, I had a job, but the pressure was easier in finding work than, oh my God, I got to find work. And that way it set me up to take the right kind of job. So when that gift was done, I was able to kind of soar. But also I was curious enough. And I tell people this, one of the reasons I moved out, I mean, yes, I could do theater in Kentucky, and I love Kentucky. But one of the things was that my dream was bigger than the state that I lived in.
Did y'all hear that? Say that again, Tiffany.
My dream was bigger than the state that I lived in. If my dream was this big, I'd be like, okay, I'm fine. But unfortunately, my dream was bigger than the state that I lived in, which I knew that my dream was bigger for the opportunities I wanted. And I knew New York was a foundation that could give me, I wanted to travel around the world on someone else's dime. I wanted shows where everybody else paid for. I wanted more than what my state could offer me at the time.
At the time.
That's why I was pressing on. I could always come home, but didn't want to be a bitter person, because I've been around people who didn't go after or even just try to obtain what makes their heart sing. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, I don't want to be bitter. At least,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? At least I can try and say, well, I did it, and it didn't work for me, or I did it and this ain't my jam.
Mm-hmm.
But not knowing, I couldn't live with not knowing. Some
Mm.
people are okay living with not knowing, but the fear of not knowing was greater than the fear of me not moving.
Mm. Y'all don't listen, Tiffany. Listen, I've already talked to your sister about writing a book. You're next, because what you have just said, um, this is your dream is bigger than the state that you live in, and not just the physical state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have emotional states, we have mental states, and
Yeah.
financial states that keep us comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and not ready to go after. And I love what you said. You could do so much when you financially secure.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna talk about that, because as a culture, an African American culture, we tend to, and I love what you said, you asked your parents for my gift. I
Mm-hmm.
need for the first year for
Mm-hmm.
you to help me
Mm-hmm.
with my living expenses.
Yep.
Most people would have gone for the right now gift, the satisfaction now. But like you said, you always had a strategy. Y'all, she always listen. When I
Mm-hmm.
say Tiffany was a star, this is 84, 88. Now y'all just take for granted
Mm-hmm.
what, and we lived in Louisville, Kentucky. Y'all take
Yeah.
for granted right now the opportunities, the paths that were made for minorities
Yep.
in entertainment, in
Yep.
modeling. I mean, Tiffany did everything.
Oh, you sweet.
No, for real, because you modeled in high school,
Yeah, I
right?
did.
You
I
did
did like the team
commercials.
board, yeah, the
Yeah,
team board, all that kind of stuff,
all of that. That was in
and the
84.
microaggressions,
Oh,
and the
listen,
microaggressions that we
speak on
didn't
it,
know were
Tiffany.
microaggressions, but we knew what they felt. We knew the racism that I just had to just be
Yep,
myopic and focus and not focus on that, because that was always there.
always there. And Tiffany's always been a bubbly personality. First of all, and me hearing you say the microaggressions, me knowing you back then, it never, you never showed it.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
though we knew what you're going through. Heck, at Mercy,
Oh my God.
our class, we had 10 black people in our class, and that was the largest black students in our class in class of 88. Okay.
Yeah,
We had about
yeah.
30, 35 in the whole school at that time.
Yeah, and it's crazy too, because like, it wasn't taught in
Yes.
our time. Hey, we can all share a piece of that pie and
Yes.
support one another. It was all the scarcity
Mm-hmm.
mentality, like I'm gonna get mine and you get yours. It wasn't always sisterhood. Is what I'm
Yes.
trying to say. Like today, we are fostering sisterhood, where back
Yes.
then it was like you get yours, I get mine, and the envy and jealousy became part of that, rather than, hey, how can I help support you? We
Yeah.
have a different, just the shift in mindset of students today, a little bit more aware.
Yes.
But we just were, you know,
Yeah.
it wasn't always rosy, especially
No.
all girls school,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
you're
It
dealing
wasn't.
with insecurities and opportunity and lack of opportunity, and I'm the only one, and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Looking back on that,
Mm-hmm. And then the experiences that you have. That's what most people, when they say, "Oh, Tanya, you're doing it." I am grateful for the experiences my parents made sure that we had, because when you don't know what's out there,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of think, "Oh, this is where I am is the best it's gonna get," you know. And
And
so I know you had many experiences. I had many experiences, and that's why when you said I went to New York, that I always knew you was going to New York. And before there was Carrie Bradshaw, there was Mary Tyler Moore. Okay,
yeah,
first, okay? And that was just seeing her throw that hat up in there and we're gonna
yeah,
make it after all. That is the image I saw when I heard that you went to New York. I said, Tiffany is doing it in
I'm
New
doing
York.
it. Yeah.
So when you first got to New York,
Mhm.
graduated from Murray State, Kentucky. Now Kentucky's his own thing. Y'all listen, y'all heard me talk about my great state in my book. I love my state, but I'm not
Yes.
one to sugarcoat what is true.
Yes.
But moving from Kentucky to the melting pot of New York, first of all,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
did you have a culture shock? Like,
Mm,
I know it's one to visit, but actually live and stay.
yeah, I think the culture shock for me coming from the South was how direct people were. They didn't care about your feelings, but it wasn't out of being mean. It was just
Right.
like, no, I don't
Mm-hmm.
like you. I don't like you. But hey, we're gonna work together.
Mm-hmm.
Where here, I would never say, hey, I don't like you. We're gonna work together, right? So the communication style was a little different, but I loved was the hustle and bustle. It
Mm-hmm.
fit more of my personality, and I knew there. I've always loved adventure, and so
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I would acclimate. Some people get there and they go, I really can't stand the hustle and bustle of New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why when I moved to New York, I always tell people New York and Alaska, when I lived in Alaska, they're very similar, that they're very extreme places. You either love it
Mm-hmm.
or hate it, or you love it or you hate it. There's no, I
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the cold, or I kind of like a lot of people. No, you either love it or you jam. And so the extreme, I was able to really dive into the extreme. I had really good roommates, and so I was able
Mm-hmm.
to have that safety net.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I knew, and I was working, and I was, it's like sometimes when you're young and dumb, you don't know what you don't know. I had
Mm-hmm.
all this, I mean, the time, the jobs that I took, the crazy jobs, the auditions I did, that I, looking back, oh, I should have been afraid, but because I had God over me,
Mm-hmm.
your head is under God's feet, and then I had this courage, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I really, that's why I say, you got to have an ounce of ambition,
Mm-hmm.
because if you don't have an ambition and curiosity, then you're never going to go forward, because what is in front of you is enough. It's almost like,
Mm-hmm.
people who say, I don't need to travel outside. I don't need to travel around the world. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't need to travel outside Kentucky. Why would I do that? I got everything I need. But the fact that you're not even curious, you don't have to leave Kentucky, but aren't you curious? No,
Mm-hmm.
you're not.
Mm.
And see, that was what I didn't want. And I was surrounded around people, some people, not everybody in Kentucky, who were like, why you want to do that? And I'm like, why? You're asking the wrong question. Why aren't you wanting to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be around people who were like-minded. So when I got to
Yes.
New York, I was like, my people, my people.
You found your tribe.
I found my mental tribe
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and
Yes.
my emotional tribe
Mm-hmm.
that were from all backgrounds that said, yeah, we're all coming here to do something. We're not coming here. New York is too expensive to just sit home,
Right.
suck the thumb, and watch TV.
No,
You
no.
got That's what
Yeah.
I loved,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I hear you say, and I've watched you over the years, but you walking in your purpose
Mm-hmm.
not only prepared you for the success that you continue to experience, but it also prepared the way for others. Now, I have the privilege of working with your sister, who was my little sister, Mercy.
You guys are
And
drinking.
every time, because I love hearing about New York, even our students love hearing about, and she always pays homage of what, it was easier for her because you already taught her what to do, connected her with who to be with, and then she kind of followed some of your same strategy, but carved out a niche of her own.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot, and I keep going to this, African Americans do not, and I dare say, it's not that we don't have the opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have the mindset to walk in our purpose confidently, like leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you don't have to live in another city, but travel, connect with people outside, but also know your purpose is not just for you. How did you feel when, not just your sister, but I know you had other people like who sought you as mentors and confidants to say, help me do what I need to do. What did you do? How did you feel once you was in New York, 2, 3, 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and people were seeking your advice?
Well, it was really interesting. I always started with what makes your heart sing, because what my path may not be your path, but what I can do is tap into what your passion is, and having strategy and connecting with mentors, right? Because what if I'm speaking to you and you asking me to be your mentor, I'm trying to help you navigate your path, but also avoid pitfalls. So that was the thing that I focused on, was like, what do you want to do? And some people were like, well, I don't want to perform. I want to be a producer. Do you know anybody can tech me, and can you help me, and what do I need to do? And I would say that the work ethic has to be there, because that doesn't matter if I refer you. If you don't show up on time, that doesn't matter. People are going to be judging you by a lot of little things. Yes. And I said that work ethic has to be in place, because if you're not showing up, my reputation, and I can't refer you. So I was almost like saying, these are the things to avoid. Also sending thank you notes and thanking people along the way. Don't forget to do those things. If someone is offering to say, hey, I'm gonna introduce you to somebody, you take them out for coffee. I don't have to do that. I don't have to give you money. And when you are asking someone to be your mentor, you set a timer. If you're asking them, oh, can I pick your brain? You should know, if you're going to pick my brain, you should not be over 15 to 30 minutes. Set a timer. We go to a coffee shop and you pay.
Yeah. Is this mic on?
Yes.
Say that again, Tiff.
Yeah. If you ask me to be your mentor, you better, if you're going to like coffee, I would say be within your budget. I don't say you have to do lunch or dinner. I wouldn't even recommend dinner. But coffee, you need to pay for coffee. You need to be there on time and set your alarm for 15, 30 minutes. You should never waste someone's time and assume they're going to give you free information that you would normally have to pay for. So I usually educate and say, hey, I will happy to do that. But if I can tell, if I'm with somebody and I see potential and I know they don't know, I'll say, hey, yes, you can treat me to a cup of coffee. Boom. And I have 30 minutes. And that's what we're going to do. Okay. And then I meet, and if you go over 30 minutes and you don't know, say, hey, can you go over? I know it's 30 minutes, or you don't even ask, or you're not aware of the time. That tells me a lot. You're probably not going to go that far. Because it's all about following instructions. And part of your success is instructions. And if you can't follow basic, like what time you're asking, don't take my time. You're assuming I got an hour and I'm working. So that's what I teach. You should never, I said, this is what you do. If you want me to be your mentor, you need to have an offering mindset, not a give me, take me mindset. Have an offering. What are you offering? I don't need you. You're asking me to help you. So what are you offering me? And I don't mean you have to give me gifts and things. Have an offering. Because if you don't know, some mentors may take you as a user. Unless they just really want to cultivate you. But you have to show initiative and ambition. And if you don't, and work ethic and being on time, why am I going to waste time the next time? And I'm not going to refer you. See, that's a test. That's the test. Do you pass the test?
Ooh, Tiffany, you see me moving back and forth like we in church. You are talking about, listen.
Well, sometimes people will ask me, because I teach a master class of the business of the performing arts, because it's called show business, not show talent, show business. And I say, some people, will you be my mentor? I said, why do you want me? I always ask, why do you want me to be your mentor? And then I go I'll decide by maybe the end of whatever we're doing, if I have time to be your mentor. See, I'm not taking on you just because it's a mutual. It's like, I don't have the time, but maybe in the future, right? I don't, just because you ask doesn't mean I have to say, yes, I'm going to mentor you.
Oh, that's going to lead. Listen, that leads us to communication.
Yes.
We're gonna spend the next 10 minutes on that, because you said it's about following instructions. You got to show your work ethic, and it's about initiative. Okay. So all of this, you guys, is not just for show business or what you want. This is life talk in the workplace, in your relationships, in your business. Everything that Tiffany just said is about how do you communicate, not only to others, but with yourself. That mindset. What are you saying to yourself? And I love what you said, Tiffany. You have to have an offering mindset. I literally stopped a couple of years ago when people would reach out to me. I want to do a book and I want you to, can I talk to you for a second? Okay. Yeah. Years ago, I used to say, oh yeah. Now I'll be like, send my little link. Okay. Because if you're going to talk about a book, mine is going to be more than 30 minutes. Yeah. So I'm gonna send you a link to sign up and with the payment. Okay. Because all the information I'm gonna give you is stuff that you can apply right then. But I love the offering mindset. Now let's talk about communication, Tiffany.
Yeah.
All that you just said is rooted in communication and how you communicate when and what you're saying. And you said that you are executive communication coach?
Yes, executive public speaking coach, communication. And I
Mm-hmm.
also do life coaching, which is a completely different model than
Yeah.
consulting. Yeah.
So let's talk about communication, especially at the executive level. You know, I'm a school director, finally.
Yeah.
And yes.
My surprise? No.
By hard work and a lot of rejection. And hopefully we get time to talk about that. But I didn't give up. That's why I tell my staff and students all the time, I am in my dream job, not because I got it, but because what I didn't get before it.
That's powerful.
What I didn't get before it that carved me out, made me courageous, made me really get clarity of what I wanted. So when the opportunity arose, I was ready. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, but a lot of people don't understand that. And so let's go to communication.
You know, I always say that. I ask people that all the time. I say, what do you want? And so the
What
big
do you
question,
want?
what do you want? But then the second piece of that question is harder. What do you want? And then they say, I want X, Y, and Z. And I say, okay, what will you have when you get what you want? If you don't know what you will have, not what you'll get, what you will have, which is very different, then why do you want it? So if you're like, I want to move, I want to be here. Why? Because I'll have clarity, or I'll have peace. That piece is really important.
Yeah. So when we talk about communication, first of all, give us Tiffany Cooper's executive definition of communication.
Oh, communication is really important. So when I think about communication, it's about telling your story and having clarity about your story, right? We are connected by stories. Our ancestors told stories to connect us. Slaves told stories, right? Native Americans have stories. So storytelling and having that clarity of when you are communicating clearly and not assuming that the person that you're communicating with is understanding. So when you communicate, you always want to ask the question, what are you hearing? Because what I'm saying is very different from what I'm hearing. And I find that even in arguments, people get, in an art, for example, somebody may say, I can't go out to dinner with you. I'm sorry, I'm really busy. And that person might be hearing, oh, you're rejecting me. Well, I didn't say that. I said I can't go out for no, you're saying, no. You're putting words in my mouth. See the communication? Because what I'm saying and what you're hearing in terms of interpretation are very different. So we're misaligned. So I'm really in the business of alignment communicatively. So having people be able to speak in a straight line, be clear, assertive, with compassion, with clarity is really key.
Because I hear be clear, assertive, with compassion, but also clarity. the step further is to get input from the person that you're communicating with, because that's where a lot of miscommunication comes. What are you hearing me say?
Yeah.
And when they say that something is wrong, then okay, I understand.
Also, I think there's gaps. So sometimes that's one issue. The other alternative is you're speaking, but people don't always. I always say, what is it? Sometimes if I'm in a deep conversation with someone and they're really quiet, but they're just tiptoeing, I'll say, what is it that you haven't said that you need to say to me? That's what I need to hear. Not what you want me to hear. What is it that you haven't said that I need to hear for this conversation to be moved forward? And then you get the truth. Like, I don't like what we're doing. Now there we go. Because before you're saying everything was fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Clearly we're not fine. So what is it that you want to say? So I'm giving you permission. Whatever you want to say. Don't worry about my feelings. What is it that you need to say that you have not said? Now I've just lifted up the veil. Okay. I don't like the way you talk to me on Friday at work. Okay, now we can have a real conversation.
And a real conversation is reciprocal, because I hear you saying when you give other people permission, is it, now let me ask you this. When you give people permission to say, what are you saying that you're not
Mhm.
telling me?
Mm-hmm.
How do you say, because people are not going to say, oh, you can do the same to me. But how can you, in that moment, after they get off their chest,
Mm-hmm.
or is it the proper time to say, okay, this is what I hear you saying.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what I'm trying to say. And then, because you have to be always truthful in your communication.
Always.
So how does that work? Because it has to be some type of reciprocity,
Yes.
and having truthful conversations.
You're absolutely right. So after what you do, I take the emotional temperature. So after they say da da da, I think thank you for sharing that, and I have to validate that verbally, not verbally with a head shake. Like I hear you. Thank you for that because I wouldn't have gotten that if I didn't ask. Thank you for that, and then take a pause, let that sit because it's all about the verbiage, them seeing
Mm-hmm.
you take it in and respond to what they just said, and then you say, now because we're in this together, may I offer you a different perspective? And that's when you share.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Mm.
so these are some, like, may I offer you? Because what you're doing is you're gonna, because what most people do is say, well, let me tell you how I feel. Why?
Woo!
We get nowhere. But if you say, okay, I hear you. So now
Mm-hmm.
they can calm down because they feel seen and heard and validated. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you still got something to say and say, okay, I hear you. Now, may I offer you a different perspective from
Mm-hmm.
my view? Because you've already validated them, even if they may not like you, agree, they'll go, yeah, go right ahead.
Mm.
Now you can go in,
Yeah.
right? Because now we can have a deeper conversation because I just validated that. Sometimes we talk and we're thinking about what's next, and that person can see that and they're
Mm.
still not satisfied.
Yes.
That's why that moment, that pause of, okay, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that. Or thank you for sharing. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you being honest with me.
Mm-hmm.
Pause.
Pause.
May I offer you a different perspective since we're being honest? And what most times they're going to say, sure. No
Mm-hmm.
one's going to say no.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can tell the truth. And then I
Wow.
think that's resolution, moving it forward. That's a trick that I
Mm-hmm.
think works because in the end of the day, when people are speaking, they want to feel seen and heard and validated. It's like ping pong. You speak, I
Mm-hmm.
speak, but we all want to feel understood. Nobody wants to talk and not feel understood,
Mm-hmm.
even if you
Mm-hmm.
misalign in terms of your values.
Yeah. So let's go to the executive level
Mm-hmm.
in the workplace. Um, and communication with others, I believe this starts with communication with yourself.
Yeah, you're so right,
And
Tanya.
so, and how do we communicate that? Because we're in a society, we give people opportunities, they get promoted. We really not in a teaching people how to function and operate at higher levels
Mm-hmm.
in in terms of those soft skills. We're
Mm-hmm.
always performance driven. And so what we have created are people in positions,
Mm.
but they're not people in power because they don't have that self power.
Mm-hmm.
So they can do the job,
Mm-hmm.
but power to me is that influence to bring people together to, even in the midst of conflict, and move forward towards a unified goal.
Mm-hmm.
How do you train leaders at the executive level to really hone in, not blame others, but to look at self and reflect on how not only can they communicate, but also receive and see people not as the enemy, but as out, aligned together, that
Yeah.
who need to be taught.
Yeah. Because, not everybody gets executive leadership. Not everybody's lucky. There's a great saying that says, leaders create leaders, not followers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you want to be able to do is that you don't want people just to follow you. You want to, if you step away from the company, they can do the work. So I think part of it is that values. As a leader, you have your own personal values. Does it align with the company you're with? Because if you're misaligned, then you can't empower, inspire your colleagues and your staff,
Yeah.
right? When you empower people, then your work is easier from that because then they want to do the work. But
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes I find leaders get into positions that have not been cultivated in those positions. They got into positions without proper training. And number two, the job came before the maturity of that role. Right? So they're not really mature. They got lucky. They knew the right person. That was the next step, but they really don't have the executive training, because executive training is not just, performance. It's also about emotional intelligence too. And how do you manage and having right people in the right skills? Sometimes as an executive, what I find is that they have the wrong people. They're having issues because they got the wrong people in the wrong roles. Not that the people that they hired are bad people. They're just in the wrong roles. So the person you have doing this job should maybe be doing that job. So you're misaligned. And then also you get the wrong people mixing. But I find that I always start with, what is your dream within your company? What is your dream? Right? What is your dream? Because I always say, when I'm working with executives, I feel like we're in a dream deficit. You don't have time to dream. So you don't know what to do. Like, what if you get everything, you make all your numbers and all your employees are great? What's next? I don't know. See, you're dreaming fat. You're not dreaming big enough, because we're not taught to do that. We're not given space to do that. Right? So it's harder when I'm dealing. And I think when I'm dealing with executives, the main thing is curiosity and humility. Right? Because sometimes you get a leader that doesn't care, because they lack humility. And if you lack humility, you're not going to empower anybody. When you lack humility, you don't care. It's all performative, right? But you're really not listening to understand. An employee comes to you and say, I'm really upset, or I want the next leap into the next role. Can you? And they're not listening because they genuinely don't. You can't force someone to care. That's the problem. You can't make people care. I don't care how you slice it. I can't care about you if I don't care about you. Right?
Yes.
It's kind of wrong, but it's true. I don't care. So so we try to cut a little bit deeper. Values. Right? Wouldn't your job be easier if you get the right person in the role and then you empower them?
Listen, Tiffany, you are like, I'm checking my house to see if you've been in my house these last couple of weeks, because that is when I go to hire now, I've even changed the interview questions to, they are all about the values of our organization, the mission statement, the job summary, and what do you do in terms of conflict? How do you move forward? Because in education, yes, you need to do a lesson plan. Yes, you need to do all these tasks, but you can do all that. But if you do not share, if the values of the organization, which as a leader, my values align with the organization, and my vision, everything for my school aligns with the organization for my school. Okay. And so when you don't understand that, and that's what the pushback is really real, when people, and you said it, when they are not aligned with the values, they are in a position, but they lack humility. They lack curiosity. They lack caring for people. And every business you are in is a people business.
It is. And you have to do that. One of the questions I love, like you could use it as an interview question that when I work with clients, I'm always asking, this is very telling. That is, what is it when people meet you? What is it that people get wrong about you? So that tells me about your self-awareness.
Yes.
Is it that you don't listen? Or if you say, well, I don't know what that means, you're not self-aware. Because everybody has somebody get something wrong about you. We all have first impressions, and sometimes they're wrong, right? So what is it that people, they meet you, they get wrong about you, right? Until they get to know you. And that's really eye-opening in terms of like gauging where people are, their deficiencies. Because that's that humility meter. Again, I'm not saying you can be confident and, really great at what you do. But if you lack that, you're being arrogant and you don't realize you are, you lack that humility, it can really affect the team because you're not seeing people for who they are. And your team is not feeling like they're connected because but also sometimes I took an executive leadership course once, and the keynote speaker said sometimes when you got and this is true, sometimes when you got a person at a very high level and they really don't have the skill sets, they just kind of fell into that role, but they haven't had time to develop it. They spend all their time masking their deficiencies, what they don't have. So then the things that you need to see, you can't, because they're trying to avoid being found out. That they
Tiffany, listen, I swear
that they don't know what they're doing. So then they spend all their energy than just taking a course or admitting, hey, this is a progress. Then what happens is you get someone that doesn't see or hear because they're so myopic and, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing, I can't be found out. All that energy is to that instead of really reaching out. And that is tragic. But that happens more than you know.
I know it. That's what I'm looking at. Tiffany, I'm looking for cameras. Because that is my experience right now. And when
how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that?
I am dealing with it, and it takes because I know who I am right now. I know what my purpose is. I know, and I've said this for decades, I'm a leader who creates leaders. That's why I'm always having training. And I ask people now, well, how do you want to grow? I've been doing that, from I was in leadership in Black Achievers.
Oh, yes.
So I've been doing this for 40 years, okay?
It's in your DNA.
It's because my mama and daddy, they was deacon of the church, chairman of the deacon board. My mama was over everything. I tell people, wherever my mama was over, we were in the church, okay?
Yeah, but you also inspire people.
Yes.
And you inspire, and there's something in you watching your parents inspire. You knew there was more than one way, right?
Yes.
You would never model like you're just going to force or demand people.
No.
You brought people along as you're growing. Come on.
Yeah. And I never, look, when I was a child, I never knew how magnetic my parents were. All I knew is that when we was out as a family, everybody would say, hi, Mr. White, or hi, Sister White. And I'm like, that's my daddy. That's my mama. But because they were who I am today, they inspired, they train, they mentor, they create leaders. People were drawn to them. And I'm getting a revelation now. When I was a child, I keep saying when I was a child, I used, even especially at church, when other kids would come around my mama, oh, no. She's my mama. Don't call her Mama White. Do not do that. I mean, I remember saying that to one of the girls in Mama, but I was a child and I didn't understand that my mom was not just my mom. She was an inspiration, a light, and a guide for others. And people were drawn to her just like my dad. And so now that I am more mature, I can understand why they were drawn to them. Because when people who give you a voice, and not only a voice, but also connect you with your dream, and they're models of what you want to accomplish, it's you can't help it. And so when you said, what is it that people get wrong about you? That's a great question. Because I remember when I used to say, hey, people used to think I'm mean, but I'm not mean. You know why they thought I was mean? Because I didn't smile a lot. And so when I reflected on that, I was like, yeah, people, I didn't smile. So I was unapproachable because I was in deep thought. When you say I was in deep thought, I'm always sharing. I'm always thinking. And so I don't smile. But that was not it. People don't care if you're in deep thought, Tiffany. When they see you, they want to experience that first impression. And so I was like, why always people say I'm mean? Well, after I did therapy and all this stuff, and it really was that I didn't feel like I was good enough. Okay. So when I found that I was enough and I had confidence, now people are like, why are you smiling all the time? Why are you taking pictures? Because that's who I am now. So,
and you know the alternative.
Yeah, I know the alternative. So that is a great question because people, they didn't ask me that verbatim, but they asked me asked me questions to reflect on what I was giving out.
Yeah,
And
because
that's
people see different things,
yes.
what people get wrong. But this also, it's great because now you have that awareness. I think it's tragic if I ask the question, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
to an adult that has a lot of life and say, oh, well, I don't think anybody gets anything wrong about me. That to me is tragic because it
Oh
means that
yes.
you are clearly not self-aware because
Not
there's
self-aware.
one person in your life that you're just not good emotionally to see social intelligence, how people respond. Some people
Yes.
don't smile back because they're not getting a good reading. So
Yes.
obviously they got some other story about you that they might get wrong, that they don't, it's not even true.
Yes.
You might be happy inside.
Yeah.
And then they get to know you, go, oh my God, you really actually
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So that was my life for about 10, 15 years because I was like, yo, after people got to know me, yeah. But I want to say, before they get to know me, what am I putting off? And that goes to that self-reflection. And that's where, Tiffany, I've held you way past what I wanted to.
I
But
love it. I love it.
Tiffany,
No, but
we
see,
don't
we
do
have
it.
real conversations. This is
Oh my
what's needed.
gosh.
This
This
is
what's needed. This what's needed. And we're going to have you back to dig deeper, especially
I would love
on
that.
the leadership level. We're going to talk specifically about leadership,
I would
executive leadership, and what we need to prepare for that. But as we close and bring this all together,
Mhm.
give our audience the Tiffany Cooper expert reason why it is important to not only to reflect on who you are, but when you see those gaps, why it is important to revise and start evolving into the person that you wanted to become.
It's really important because if you don't self-reflect, sometimes we all have voices in our head, and it doesn't matter what people will tell you, you will always believe the voice in your head. That voice in your head will always outride, oh, you're a fabulous person. If I don't believe it in my head, I'm going to believe what's in my head. And so sometimes the voices that we are telling ourselves, think about the limiting beliefs. What beliefs that are limiting us? I say the things that you tell yourself, revisit that and think, what I'm telling myself, is it outdated or does it need to be revised? It doesn't need, because sometimes the things you tell yourself might be the things I believe. When you revisit the things that you believe, are those things that you believe outdated or are they still current for you? Because you might be adhering to things that you did 20 years ago because you were taught that's how you got to do them, and it's no longer serving you. So that is number one. And number two, always start doing self-reflection. Always having those deep thoughts, always writing in the journal, being kind and compassionate with yourself. Because this is the key. If you can't be kind and compassionate with yourself, you cannot hold space for others.
Ooh, you cannot hold.
You can't hold space. So sometimes that's why people who are mean hurt people because they didn't allow themselves to hold space for themselves. They can't hold space for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you got to work on this in order to be like that. Right? You can't be like, come, and I'm still broken because I'm going to hurt you along the way. So that's a nugget to chew on. Those things that you tell yourself, I'm nothing, or my family told me I'm nothing. Revisit that. Is that outdated? Is that outdated, or is it something that you're living with now? No, you know what? That's different. I don't need that. No. Those things, no. That's outdated thinking. I need new thinking. So think about growth mindset and new thinking. The thinking that you have today, is it outdated or is it current? That's how you think.
I love that, Tiffany. What you think about in your head. And even if you're not there yet, I remember Muhammad Ali, the greatest of all times, the GOAT. He started saying, the champ is here. Before he won one boxing, he called himself the champ. The champ is here. And people started saying, you ain't the champ. And he said, not yet, but the champ is here. And so, and a lot of people thought he was arrogant. No, he had done a lot of self-reflecting and was calling himself what he wanted to be.
Absolutely.
Because he did not, I love what you said, limit his thinking.
Yeah.
He did not limit his beliefs.
Yeah, the
And
limited beliefs, those limited beliefs. I can't do it, or I can't do it, or do it afraid.
do
That's
it
one thing.
afraid.
Like New York, I didn't know. Do it afraid. Do it afraid. You
Do it
never
afraid.
know,
You
right?
never
And this is,
know.
and this is the thing, because listen, jealousy. I would love to talk about that next time. Jealousy and envy is
Yes.
real, and sometimes people will try to block the people. Sometimes want to keep you how they met you. So if they met you when you were not doing well, and you didn't do this, or you were this way, or you were this weight, and then I remember when you. Why can't it be? Yes, I remember. What about we talk about the current, right? Is that whole outdated? And some people like to keep you how they met you in terms of where you are emotionally headspace, than really focusing on the growth of where you are and where you're going. And that speaks to them. They haven't done the work. So sometimes you could be around people who haven't done the inner work, and you misalign. Like, you meet an old high school friend, and somehow you're still trapped in the same way they were thinking, and you're like, honey, I'm an adult. I haven't thought, right? Because they limit themselves to that. And the fear of that, you gave yourself permission to think differently, to be better. They had not given themselves permission.
Woo.
It's about the permission.
Listen, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna re-listen to this, because I'm like, we got about 3 more episodes that we need to do before March is over, because you hit people like to keep you where they found you, where they met you.
Don't you think that's true?
Oh, I know that's true. But you saying it like that opens my eyes to why the jealousy, the envy, the backstabbing, the untrue narratives that they create is because you have evolved and they have not.
Yeah, because some people say, why do you think you can do that? Well, why would you think I can't do that?
Right.
Why haven't you let yourself do that? Right? So I think we don't give ourselves permission to be who we are. Like you're saying, that journey, we just don't give ourselves permission and hold space for ourselves.
No.
Right?
No. Tiffany, you have been fabulous, terrific, amazing, eye-opening.
You have been amazing. I always love talking with you. I always love talking with you. It's like you are like a warm blanket and a cup of coffee.
Oh, Tiffany, that's how you felt when I met you. You were my Mary Tyler Moore before you even went to New York. Because I was like, this girl's gonna be a superstar. And
well, you know what? Well, you also say something. When I was at my parents' place, I went down in the basement. I found all of your letters that you wrote in high school. My husband's like, what are all these letters? I said, this is Tanya White, right? I said, this is back in the day when we didn't have phones.
Yes.
We wrote letters to one another.
And we had to write, because, we used to write, and we loved to write in cursive. And we loved to write and fold them little letters up and give it to each other as we passed.
I love that.
The kids don't know about that life before phones.
Oh my God, they don't know. I mean, it's a completely different. I do think that there are some plus and minuses. All the craziness we did, I have none of it recorded. Thank God.
Thank you, Jesus.
Right.
Thank you, Jesus. No, but we have. You have been a light. I followed you. Your career when you was in. I was like, Tiffany is doing it, and so just to see you now and helping others. Yes, you're gonna come back and talk about your arts education and how you help. Because the arts are under attack, of course. We're not even gonna talk about that, but they're under attack. But how you can still create in the midst of attack and what you need to do. We got so much to talk about, but I want you to. What's next for Tiffany Cooper in entertainment or your podcast? Share that with us.
Yes, I have a podcast. So it's called Radically Curious Conversation. And I co-host it with my co-host, Jessica Gomez. And that's on Spotify and Apple. We record about twice a month. And it is a podcast about business life and art. So we bounce around. We just did a recording yesterday. It's not posted yet. But look out for that. And then I like to, because I balance between my coaching career and my performing career. So I did a movie earlier early in the year called Bigfoot Woods. And did it was a world premiere musical that it was a reboot called I Am Betty, the Betty Crocker musical.
Okay.
And most people don't know this, but Betty Crocker was fictitious to sell gold medal flour. It wasn't a real person. But what people don't realize is a woman named Barbara Jo Davis. She actually was the person who created Hamburger Helper and Tuna Helper. Was a Black woman.
Well,
So,
see,
yeah. So yes, I bounce around. I just try to keep busy, but the main thing is keeping balance between not taking on too many performing gigs and not. I love world travel as well. We like to travel in between work, but also honoring my clients at the same time. So it's just finding that balance. So that's what I'm doing.
How can people find you on social media and get with you? Maybe they want to be a client of yours, life coaching or executive coaching. How can they do that?
Cooper.com. And I just pulled my coaching website because I'm updating. But you can always contact me. I can send you my promo sheet. TiffanyCooper.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Tiffany Cooper 7 is my handle. And you can find me there. And
okay,
I want to reach out. Let me know.
Find Tiffany Cooper there and connect with her. Tiffany, again, you've been amazing. You all re-listen to this, re-share this, connect with Tiffany. She will be back talking about once I get some the topics down. She's gonna be back and talking.
I love it. It's so great talking with you. You're such a powerhouse.
Oh, you are too, Tiffany. You have always been, and I just love to see. I love to see how you have not put yourself in a box.
Oh, it's so easy, right? When you see people from high school or even college, put themselves in a box.
Yeah, and you have branched out and know that you can do a plethora of things, in balance, and they're all part of who you are. So I love that.
If J-Lo can do it, I'm gonna do it.
Listen, that's it. And a lot of entertainers are doing that. They're not making money from entertainment or singing anymore. They're making money from their other endeavors.
Absolutely.
So
and I want to thank you for having this platform because you were really helping and inspiring a lot of people, right? You don't know when people listen to this if they're living on the edge or they just living literally on the shoestring. The fact that you're giving such varied topics a platform, it's great because I feel like this is a ministry.
Yes, it is. It's real talk about real issues to enhance your real life. That's our slogan. And so thank you once again. Y'all connect with Tiffany. Remember, thank you to Derby City Medical Partners for being our March sponsors. Call them at 502-808-1048 and ask for who? LaTanya Renee Banks. That I love her first two names. LaTanya Renee Banks, she is the owner, one of the partners of Derby City Partners. Until next time, you guys, remember, as I always say, love your life, live your life, and laugh through your life. Until next time, I love ya.
Love